What's up, everybody? It's Tim, the guy with not a regular upload schedule. Whenever I do find stuff that is interesting or stuff that I think that I could share with the world that I might be valuable with, that's when I upload a video. So that's how my schedule works. It's really not regular. I don't think there's really enough people to make it regular. But there is something, though, that I'm bringing to you today that I am interested in and that I do actually seem to know a little bit about so I can be helpful to others. And that's Web3. Now, I know we've heard a lot of stuff about Web3. Some people are probably even wondering, what is Web3? For those who are uninitiated, you can do a Google search and that'll probably tell you probably way too much. But the idea is basically being able to leverage blockchain with the internet. And one of the most important features of Web3 that has just come out is the fact that you can log in now with a wallet. And you may think, like, what's the big deal with that? Well, when you log in with a wallet, you don't have to have money in it or anything like that. You can just create one, and they have plenty of browser extensions to do that. When you create one, all you do is when you sign into a service, you know how you can authenticate with Google or Facebook or Twitter or anything like that? Well, now you can actually provide a login method for people to where when they sign in, you actually don't surrender as a user any information to that site. And anything that you give that site is totally volunteered. Like when you sign in with Twitter, so like I've built many projects that have login with Twitter, you actually give up a little bit of information about yourself when you authenticate with Twitter. When you give that site permission, they can then read a multitude of information about you, and one of those being your email, one of those being your name, one of those possibly even being your location if that's set. Depends on the provider and a whole bunch of other things. With Web3, one of the strongest benefits that I personally use a lot is this kind of semi-anonymous authentication workflow. Because when you authenticate with a wallet, that validates your ownership of that wallet. And maybe the service I'm building, I don't really need to know anything special about you. I just want to be able to say, hey, yes, I know who you are and we're going to log in with you. So what we're going to focus on today is really the very, very basic intro of how to log in with MetaMask, which is an Ethereum-based blockchain wallet. So we're going to be working with the, well, not directly the Ethereum blockchain, but we will be working with MetaMask, which provides some really easy endpoints that we can just grab with JavaScript. And all we're going to do is just with regular HTML and vanilla JavaScript, we're going to just log in with MetaMask and we'll just display the user's wallet name, a wallet address on the screen when they're logged in. That's it. And we'll just follow along with the MetaMask documentation, add some other stuff on top of that, but we're not using React. We're not doing anything fancy. That can be in another video. But without further ado, I mean, really, let's hop over to the other screen and get started. Okay, so right now we have this terminal open and we are on the desktop. What we're going to do is we're going to make a new directory called Web3 login. We're going to cd into Web3 login, and then we're going to make a new file called index.html. Now keep in mind, we're going to open up VS Code at that same location. So keep in mind, this is just a regular index.html file. This will not be complicated. It's going to be the absolute bare minimum for how to get started. So the bare minimum for a HTML file, right, is the HTML tags, the head tag. Let's give it a title of Web3 MetaMask login, and then let's do a body because we got to have a body. Okay, and then inside there we'll just be like, we are just getting started. Okay, so kind of formatted it a little weird, but either way, that's our very, very basic index.html file. And we can test that by doing open index.html. And look, there we go. We have our site and we're all ready. Now, there is something that is special about MetaMask in the fact of you cannot use this browser extension. Like I can open it and view the stuff that's in there, which I sold an NFT recently, so that's why I have money in it. But you can see that right now this file URL is this file // and then it's the directory to the information. We actually can't use the library that MetaMask loads into every page when we're in the file mode. So actually what we need to do is every MacBook should come with this. If you're a Windows user, this also applies to you. You just have to install Python 3. But we can do Python 3-m HTTP server. And what this is going to do is this is going to start up a port on localhost port 8000. It's going to just be a simple file server. And as you see, if we go to 8000, we've got the same page because index.html will by default load in. So let's just get started with making a very, very basic kind of like layout. Let's just do something interesting. We're going to use a packaged CSS class called Tailwind Css. Tailwind CSS I highly recommend. I don't necessarily recommend it for a static site like this because there is basically, how you can wind up writing a lot of CSS and then maybe refactoring later down the road and you not realize that you've deleted a bunch of classes. That you don't use a lot of classes. Well, with Tailwind, it automatically determines what classes that you're using and actually purges all the ones that you don't use, which makes the package size a lot smaller. When you include this link in your header tag, we are going to make every class that's available in Tailwind CSS available to us, but we also can't really shake any of the unused classes out. So this does require a little bit bigger file size to be loaded than necessary, but again, we're just working with some very basic stuff here. If you're not familiar with Tailwind CSS, I personally very much like it. It's kind of just like a CSS framework, and there's a whole bunch of pre-built classes that you can use to very easily just kind of like get your HTML formatted very pretty. So the way that it works is like we would do this would be flex, it would be the full screen, and it would be the height of the full screen. We're talking about the body here. And we want everything that is in the body to just be like straight up centered. And so we'll refresh the page and look, our text is now right there. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a button. And this button is going to be a really pretty shade of purple, and it'll be rounded so people don't cut their hands on the edges. Let's do purple. Background of purple. 100. We'll add some padding in there. We'll make the text white, and let's just see what that looks like. Should be pretty simple. Yeah, we're just getting started. Let's have that be login with MetaMask, right? And so what we'll do here is we're just going to make this look a little bit prettier because we're going to be adding a lot more stuff to this. One thing that we're going to need is an ID, and we're going to call it login button, right? And we will have, well, let's see, because if this is disabled, it's not going to change the classes. It's just going to make it unclickable. Yeah, so that's not very useful to us. We'll have to change these classes around to show that the button is disabled, because according to the HTML, if we put a disabled attribute in here, it'll be but we're not at that stage yet. So, okay, we'll just have login with MetaMask, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to have a giant script tag at the end of this thing, and that is how our entire app is going to run. So we can do a document. Let's do on, I guess we could do DOM loaded. I guess this is kind of, just we want something to work when the JavaScript is, when the page is loaded. We're just gonna have a little alert show up. We should get a little alert now. Let's see. I think it's DOM. Let me see. Okay, so how long have I been programming? Content loaded. I literally have to do this every day for my job. Like I program literally every day, and I still wind up going to the docs to do things every single day. So doesn't matter how long you've been programming, you're literally always going to be Googling stuff. So don't ever feel discouraged about that. Okay, anyway, so we have it to where when the window loads, essentially when the DOM content loaded event fires, we're going to be able to execute a function. So the first thing we want to do is let's just do toggle button. So what toggle button is going to do is it's going to be a function and doesn't take any parameters. And what we're going to do here is we're going to determine, is MetaMask installed in the current browser? And the way that you can do that is actually, so MetaMask, I think it's IO, yeah. So MetaMask is this Chrome extension, right? And it has actually some really, really good documentation, and here it is right here. It has everything from account management. You can sign transactions. You can send money to another person if you have another wallet address like on your app that you want to send to. But we're just going to be talking about logging in today. So to do that, on the global window object, just like how we attached an event listener here, we're going to look for a object called Ethereum. And so what that will be is that will be the instance of MetaMask that we can interface with. So what we're going to do is we're going to check to see if MetaMask is enabled, which actually we can have that as, we don't need it as a global. We'll just do this. We'll just say, okay, really, we just do that. So if there is no window Ethereum, then what we're going to do is we're going to need to disable the button, and otherwise we will enable the button. So to disable a button, we will first have to determine what our button is. So we'll do login button, and we'll do document.get element by ID, and we're going to be called login button. And so now this variable will be shared, and it's in the same scope as all of this, so we can actually access login button from inside these functions. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do login button, and we're going to set the inner text to MetaMask is not installed, and that will set the inside of our button right here to MetaMask is not installed. And then what we want to do is we actually want to change the class. We want to remove this BG purple and the text white, and then make it gray with slightly grayer text. And we can simulate that by just turning this to false, and then we'll know if our toggle button function is working. Because I have MetaMask installed, so we're automatically going to go to the next stage. But we don't need to be worrying about that at this point. So let's do login button, and we're going to do class list, and we're going to do remove, and we want to get rid of these two classes, which you can actually just pass a string here. And then what we want to do is we want to add two more classes where we want this to be, let's say, yeah, 500 is probably fine. And then make this dark. And then we want to return false, and we'll just set this equal to true. And what's going to happen is essentially this or true is going to shortcut this if statement, and it's going to execute this all the time. So when we reload our page, we should get a great, we got MetaMask is not installed, but we didn't get, I bet you, is that our, well, we got, let's see, what the heck's going on? Okay, we got class list remove. Let's go to, let's just throw a debugger in here. I literally have to do this all the time, and I haven't like prepared this video or anything like that. Like, you're gonna just see how this stuff is normally done. So we've got login button, and we've got login button.class list, right? And we want to remove and so that'll probably work. Yeah, that worked. Okay. Did I just advise everybody incorrectly? I think this can either take an array or something. I know you can do more than one at a time. And then let's try and add these back. Let's see if I can do. I swore it was a list. No. What the heck? Do we really have to? Okay, hold on. We're gonna Google stuff again. Let's see. Should be class list. Should be able to remove multiple. Oh, okay. It's just a string separated not in an array. Okay, you see, it's stuff like this that I just wind up forgetting every day because I guess, in my small brain, I have I just made room for other stuff, likely memes. Okay, anyway, let's refresh this page. Okay, there we go. So MetaMask is not installed. I'm not gonna lie, that looks kind of like trash. Let's make the text a little lighter. Yeah, that's better. And then we'll do cursor not allowed. And that'll just make our little pointer, our pointer changed. Oh, whoops, did it again. There we go. There you go. And now it says like, oh, cursor's not allowed. Like, oh, kind of a cool little thing to add just for a UI standpoint. Okay, now that we've made this button like, way too overbuilt already, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the fact of the matter, to the use case of when someone does have Ethereum installed. And actually, we really don't need to do anything, but what I want to do here is instead of always having some onClick class always be here, because you could just add onClick here, right? And then you could just have, when you do this, it logs you in. What I want to do is only when the button has loaded and we have determined that the button is clickable because they have the Ethereum object present, that is when I want to do the window listener. So we'll do login button, and we'll do add event listener, and we'll do on click. Oh, sorry, click. And I mean, we don't really need that. We don't really need the event at all, actually. And actually, we can get rid of it here as well. Okay, and so when we're clicked, this is when we're going to start the whole authentication process. So how do you log in with MetaMask? Well, they actually make it very, very simple. There is a method called ethereum.request where you would request accounts. And what that will do is that is going to then give you a list of accounts. There's really only, it's an array that's one item long, because in the future they intend to have people be able to authenticate with multiple at one time, which actually, even though these docs don't say it, they actually are. You actually are able to authenticate with more than one at one time. But either way, what we're going to do is, because we know that window.ethereum is present, then when this function gets clicked, let's actually just make a whole nother breakout function. We'll do function and we'll do login with MetaMask. And actually we'll just put that right here. And then we will do Ethereum request. And I believe, what did it look like? Request, and then it was method. And we want to be able to ask this user, hey, what Ethereum accounts do you have in your wallet right now? And that's actually going to give us an array called accounts. And then what we want to do is get the first account. So we could have another window object up here, and because we're coding in vanilla JavaScript and they're, React, and we're not in React where we can like manage state or anything like that, we're just going to have a window object at the top of the scope, and essentially that's going to be the user wallet address, and we're going to have that set to just nothing. And so now there's like kind of a global variable called user wallet address. This is obviously something that's like pretty risky, but this is a very basic tutorial of just how to get logged in. More advanced implementations of this would obviously, you would require just something a little bit more robust. But what we're going to do here is we're going to say, let's just debugger right here and make sure that everything is getting called properly. Okay, so we're logged in and we have something called accounts. Oh, this is an asynchronous function. Okay, so this asynchronous function is actually going to require that we await for a window Ethereum request. And the reason is because when the modal pops up, which we'll show actually right here, when the modal pops up, it could take someone a millisecond, it could take someone 2 seconds or 5 or whatever to wait for us to confirm what account we're trying to log in with, and when we click next and all of that, or if we cancel. And so what we need to do is actually support an asynchronous function, and we wait for the user to actually tell us, hey, yes, I'm authenticating with this account. And the way that actually we should be handling rejections, right, for people that decline us, let's handle the rejection case first. So I click cancel, and what should happen is we should actually wound up with, do we not get the thing triggered? It should have gone to the next one. I think actually we can catch it. They should have a, I believe they have a case for this. Oh, they really don't show that. Wow, that's kind of surprising. I mean, they have this accounts.0, but that's assuming though that you get the account. So let's see. In here they call it from inside the function, but that shouldn't matter. Let's see, async function. Let's just do this then. Okay, let's see if we can get that negative response. And we still didn't hit the debugger on that one. So I think what we'll wait for is there a way to catch this? Let's see if we can catch this. And let's go cancel. Okay, so we can catch this. Okay, so this is where we can say that the user rejected the request. Okay, so that's something that's not in their docs, but definitely a case that needs to be handled. So we'll just do a console error right here. And we'll do e.message, I believe is what that key was, right? Yeah, just message. And so that'll show to the console, right, that we rejected the auth request. If they did not reject the auth request, which means that this catch did not get caught, speaking of which, we want to exit out of this function early, then what we want to do is we want to do const count, and we want to do account 0, because this is going to be a array of that's at least one address long, and we just want to pluck the first one out of this. And actually this string is going to be the window user wallet address is going to be equal to account, which actually by this point might as well just do that, save space. Okay, so now we should wind up with an address below here, which actually makes me now think we should probably have some text here that starts out with nothing, but then actually we fill with some data afterwards. And we'll make this, you know, text to Excel, and actually let's make this a column, because if we don't, they're going to stack right next to each other. And we'll do text gray 800, and we'll do some spacing, some margin around that, margin around the Y for 2 units. Okay. So we've got our user wallet address. So I think the next thing now is to really just, you know, target the user wallet like a paragraph element and just move on there. Let's see, user wallet, document, get element by ID, and do user wallet. And then let's just set the inner text to window.user wallet address, and we should wind up with some text. So let's see. Let's log in with the wallet and yeah, get this show on the road. Okay, so if we cancel, right, we shouldn't be able to reach. Well, actually, we'll need to. If there are no accounts, then we want to return here, because we're going to return kind of an empty here. And then what we want to do is, because if there's no accounts, we're just going to get nothing. It should just be empty, and we'll just kind of like, you know, return from that. Oh, this is because I did flex here. Actually, let's move that back, and then we'll actually just make a div in here. Flex colon space Y2. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm actually just making a flex column, and it's going to have just these 2 items in it, and these 2 items should be justify center and item center. And basically these 2 items are going to display on top of each other as opposed to right next to each other, because flex by default will put stuff in a row. Let's see if that works, and actually let's just add some text here. See what that looks like. Yeah, perfect. I do feel like maybe that text is a little too large. Okay, cool. And let's actually just try to log in now. Well, first let's decline. And good, nothing crashes. We should get a console error message actually somewhere when we decline. But let's see. Is it not catching that? It should be doing console error. What is this? What is this? User rejected the request. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's what the whole point is. Do I not have? Oh, I have it on info only. That's why. Let's do default. There we go. Okay. So now we're getting our console requests. These are from the MetaMask RPC, but this is from us. As you can see, index line 35. Okay. With that being said, let's actually just do a real login now, and we'll log in with my wallet, and we'll just go boom, and it'll say, hey, yeah, we're permitted to view your account, which again, that's all the information there is, so there's really nothing to take from here. And you can see we connected, and right when we connected, we have a wallet address here, and that's pretty cool. We could get way more sophisticated with this, and we might, which actually, after this login button is present, we can make a log out button. So I guess let's do that. Let's see. So after we're logged in, let's remove the event listener for click. So login button, and we'll do remove event listener for click, and then we're going to add a new listener for click that will be sign out of MetaMask. Okay, and then we'll make a new function that probably doesn't need to be async, but let's see. Sign out of MetaMask, and I think what we can do there is just do window dot Ethereum dot. This one we're gonna have to go back to the docs. Which honestly, I guess it shouldn't matter, honestly, because we're not even caching anything. So your wallet will always say that you're connected. Like for example, if I go to wallet and I go to connected sites, you'll see localhost 3000 is authenticated. So once we click it, it won't open the modal again. But now since I removed it from connected sites, it's gonna, it's gonna appear. So yeah, okay. Well, anyway, we don't need to sign out of Ethereum, but what we do need to do is when someone does click sign out of Ethereum, we need to set the user wallet address back to null, and then we also need to set the inner text to nothing. And then we also, let's see, we've just signed out, so we've got rid of the user wallet address, and we also set the text inside of the paragraph element to nothing, so nothing should be there anymore. I guess we should be good. Let's change the login button once we log in to sign out of MetaMask, which it's really not signing out, but to our app it would be, or to this web page really it would be. So here, let's do this. We'll go log in. Okay, now you see sign out of MetaMask, so that's pretty good. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see if we can get that button to center after we do it. I'm pretty sure that's going to require a whole nother div, and I just really don't want to do that right now. Okay, but either way, this is our wallet address. So there you go. We're logged in with MetaMask. You can also sign out of MetaMask, which did not work. Let's see. Why did this remove event listener not? Type click should just be, should just be it. We just don't want to have the same button have two listeners on it, because then it's going to try to execute both. Yeah, like it's trying to do right there. What the heck? Let's just do. This should remove that. Then we'll need to. we're about to do something really messy, which there might be a better way of doing this, but we can just do a set timeout and then attach it in here after like 200 milliseconds. See if that works. Yep, okay. So I gotta change my button back as part of this logout text. So let's do sign in with MetaMask, and now the button will be there. And then what we actually need to do again is do this, put the opposite, which is really messy. But we're going to be signing out. We're going to detach the listener for signing out, and we're going to reattach the listener for signing in. And we have, just made a absolute, mess of this button. But it does work, and we're signing in with MetaMask. And actually from here, there's a whole bunch you can do. Once you have the address of the user that you want, you can go, and there's many other places that you can get information from, like OpenSea. Like with OpenSea has a whole API. I believe it's resources docs. So these people have really good documentation. This API reference, like for example, this account, that's when you can go and just make a fetch request to a address that we have actually. So we can make a fetch request to this address, and then we could go and see what NFTs and what tokens and yada yada yada, and pretty much the world's your oyster at this point. So yeah, that is pretty much it. Okay, so yeah, there was a little bit debugging there, and it got a little bit messy at some points, but the way to log in with Ethereum is really, as you've seen right here, really just a couple lines of JavaScript. And actually, I am working on a project right now that is going to essentially handle all of this for you, and it'll be something that you can just inject into your site, whether that be no code or be a static page like this or anything like that. And basically, we'll handle all the authentication for you and support multiple wallets and all that stuff. But if you just want to implement MetaMask today in your basic HTML site, just to, get someone's address, get someone's Ethereum address for whatever reason. You want to show them their NFTs or anything special like that. Make your own little web app. This is how you do it. It's that simple. And so with that, let me know if you have any questions. That's our first little Web3 adventure. The second one will be a lot more cohesive, but I just wanted to get something out there to let everybody know and kind of, put the feelers out on what people want to see when it comes to Web3. And so that's it. Thank you.